Hello there, welcome back to the Life of Genghis Khan campaign in Oriental Empires. Last time we took down our rival Genghis, destroying his main force, and then we went on to capture all of his tribe's territory, or most of it anyway, the stuff that we know about, massively expanding our domain. We also won a brief decisive war with the Green Guys, a little tribe off to our flank who are now our vassals. With that, all was peaceful, and now we'll skip forward 10 or so turns to when I remembered I could use an edict to make myself Kublai Khan and officially be king of the Mongols. I've been able to do this for a while, but I totally forgot about it, so now we're finally going to do it. All this really does is increase Temujin's authority so we can have more settlements. It also gives you an achievement, but it's just a political thing. Now we are officially the ruler, we've declared it, so everyone else might see us a little bit more highly because of it. Now what we're going to do as our next move in the campaign is go after the Merkits again. We got peace with them last time to save cash, but they still have a big army near our capital. It's highly suspicious, and they have some territory that used to be mine, which I'd like to get back. So we're going to start setting up for war with them. I tried to vassalize them by paying them off, but they refused, so we are going to have to do this the hard way. I've now built a barracks in my capital, so I can build some actual units, or train some actual units I should say. They're not heavy cav or anything, which is what we really want for our truly Mongolic force, but having some heavy spearmen, some decent foot troops should be enough for this short campaign. Short in that we don't have to walk very far to conduct it. Going to gather up some more units before I do anything there, but while doing that we also get this news. Our vassal, the Green Guys, has been attacked by the Tartars, or the Tartars declared war on them. So now, as a very good vassal master, I'm also going to declare war on the Tartars. That means we need to pay attention to the other side of our domain. These yellow-orange guys are around. This is the group we stole their capital from near the start of the campaign, but they've put another settlement where it used to be, and they do have armies hanging around here. Handily though, the Jidoran Mongol territories that we took in many cases already have the boya, which is the basic building you need to spam horse archers. That means we can spam horse archers, so we are going to have some troops together to go deal with that. But the first action is back on the other front. It was accidental actually. I had some guys chasing down some random Jidoran Mongol units that were in my allies' territory, and they stumbled into some Merkit troops who were wandering around as well. So there's a little battle here. But this isn't actually the most important battle that happened this turn. While these tribal levies were fighting away, a battle takes place over in Naiman territory. You might remember last time I sent one unit to go and attack the Naimans because I have a mission to attack them, and finally they've arrived. It took them like 20 turns to get there, but there they are shooting arrows into a Naiman settlement. So my thought was, there you go game, I've attacked the Naimans. The issue we'll have here is that my men did actually go on from just shooting arrows to go all the way into the settlement and make an attack. I could have set them to be on retreat mode so they wouldn't actually attack, but I didn't think of that, so I very much just sacrificed this unit making a pointless attack that they can't win. Looks like we're eventually winning this battle back over in our allies' territory, and we've even stumbled across some Merkit civilians at about the same point, so that's handy. Took them down as well. Now the question is, have I cheekily completed the story mission by quote-unquote attacking the Naimans? There's a thing here saying that our allies have ended their war with the Naimans, which was promising, but the mission to attack them is also still here. So unfortunately, it does appear that my pure cheekiness has not paid off in this case. We've just wasted time and money doing that. We're too far away to actually go after them and do the mission legitimately at this point, so we'll ignore them and focus back on our two wars. On the Merkit front, we've got a load of guys together and we're ready to go. We can outnumber the enemy, but the method of setting up for the battle means it's a little bit harder than it looks. We need to try and arrange it so that all of these stacks can arrive at the same time, but they move at different speeds. There's a river involved. Some of our reinforcements are far away, as you can see here. So actually bringing all our force to bear is going to be a bit messy there. On the Tartar front, I've randomly captured one of their settlements here. I moved a couple of units out and walked into an empty settlement and just took it, so that was very nice. I'm using the enemy's strategy against me. The Tartars are pulling an off-ED by not bothering to defend some of their settlements, and I'm going to call their bluff by sending horse archers to go around and check all of them, because if any of them are open, we'll just instantly take them and potentially just destroy them. At the same time, I do have two actual armies, one in the north and one in the south, who will move out to go and engage the Tartars more conventionally. Now over with the Merkits, the battle starts here before I wanted it to. The vanguard of the units trying to arrive ends up in battle with the enemy because they actually came out of the settlement as I got close. I thought if I stayed one tile away a battle wouldn't be triggered, but one is. Here we see the weirdness of charges with Cow. We kind of charged into those spearmen. At first nothing happened, but then suddenly they all died a little bit later, so there's a kind of delay on the charge effect. But it does work, and we are able to take that unit down and continue on with the fight. However, there's also another fight here to look at. I sent like 2 units to attack a settlement that the Merkits have just made over on the western side of our allies. There's just 1 spear unit in there, so once one of our units touches a breach, it instantly falls and we take that camp for ourselves. Now I claimed this battle was continuing, but actually it's not. After we killed the units that came out of the settlement, the rest kind of stayed inside and everything just glitched out, and that was the end of that. But now another fight is taking place. Our northern group going against the Tartars has reached an enemy settlement. This settlement had a couple of units inside, but that's not enough. They don't have enough to defend all the breaches, so this is one where we can win on the old technicality. Just means we have to wait for someone to trigger it. A unit has to go and touch the edge of the settlement before the breach thing comes into play. So just like that, we capture the settlement there. I think we killed one of their officers in that battle, or got them deleted at least with the fall of the settlement. And that's a handy settlement for our empire because it's sort of close to the eastern end, so we can actually keep that one. And there's another settlement just over the river, so we'll go for that. Again, that one doesn't have enough units in it to defend it, so we're guaranteed to win once we eventually get there. My noble horsemen here scouting around have found another Tartar settlement, but there are some units inside, so no easy steal here. We can tell though from the tiles, from the hexes, that there is another enemy settlement just in the fog of war to the east, so we're going to go check that one out as well. Our army on the southern Tartar front is about to arrive, and then we'll engage in a big battle with what I guess is their main force. Here I got some peace with the Naimans because we're just not going to bother with this whole I've got a grudge against them story mission. We'll just let that pass us by. I think we lose some authority for not doing it, but there's no serious penalty. Now on to the next turn of fighting. There's a little surprise battle near one of our settlements when a few units try to attack some of my men walking around, but that doesn't really matter. The main fight is us storming in against what remains of the Merkit main force after some of them got killed trying to leave the settlement last time. The enemy do have enough units to actually defend their settlement in this case, so even once all breaches are engaged, we won't be able to get a technical win. The game's getting super low frame ratey. This game has very bad performance issues, as mentioned in my previous campaign. It's very hard to control the camera at times. But long story short, with this fight, we eventually broke through one of their tribal levies defending the borders of the settlement, went in and took the win. There we have it then. We've destroyed one of their armies and taken back our old camp, which we'll now occupy, and that's quite near our own trading centres, so that's a perfect place for us to have a settlement now. At the same time, I also captured this other place. It's another undefended Merkit town that they've just made, so we instantly steal this, the Chusha, on top of Hunyu, and now we have these 2 low-level settlements that are kind of too far from our empire to be useful to us, but I'm not going to destroy them. I'm going to occupy both, because having these places on the other side of our allies is potentially very useful. We can use them in the event of a betrayal, whether it's us betraying them or them betraying us. We get some more strategic flexibility by having stuff behind their lines there, so we will leave them for now. Now it's time for quote-unquote 2 attacks on Tartar settlements. Here's the one where we're guaranteed to win on numbers. The other one, which was supposed to be the big one against their main force, actually isn't happening. You can see my men just going into the enemy settlement here as if it was empty. This is a case where the enemy surrendering due to being terrified by the Mongols has triggered. Apparently there's no fanfare or anything, so it's easy to miss. You just randomly get settlements and the armies inside disappear. So because of that, the hard battle has been won with no casualties, and that easy guaranteed win battle is giving us a few casualties because it's taking a while for our men to get into position and actually enter the settlement, but eventually we'll have it. Here, where our armies were moving north towards the next set of Merkit territory, we've encountered the enemy faction leader, and he's gradually killing all of my men. Our tribal levies are getting absolutely trashed by this guy, also struggling to control the camera. I should explain that in this game it can sometimes not detect you lifting up the camera movement key, so if you tap the camera movement key it will interpret that as you holding it down until you press another camera movement key, which is why the camera suddenly kind of veers all over the place out of control, as you'll probably notice as we go along. And it gets worse and worse as time goes on because more and more stuff is being rendered across the map, since you always have line of sight over all the tiles you've discovered. Anyway, the Tartars want peace, but because they wouldn't be my vassal, we're going to refuse them and continue the war. And now we have a big mission given to us. It wants us to go and attack the Jin, that being the Chinese to the south of the map. So this is the main mission really of the campaign. We need to go down and assert Mongol dominion over China. So they're on the other side of a desert and some mountains. It's kind of hard to get to them, even though it doesn't look like they're that far away. And it does warn us in the message there that it's going to be difficult to take them down and you need to adequately prepare. I'm guessing they're going to have loads of high-level settlements and decent units, all that sort of stuff. There are also some Tartars and Jajoran Mongols in amongst the Chinese that we might have to worry about. So that's going to be our long-term project. For now though, we'll focus on just winning this war with the Tartars. My little scouting group of noble horsemen has identified 3 new settlements for us to attack, and there are actually quite a few units around here. I was originally planning to link them up with these other scouts and try and actually capture the middle one, but then I realised, wait a minute, the one in the bottom left is the enemy capital, it's got an enemy officer in it, and because that's just 1 unit and we have 2, we can capture it automatically, so we might as well sneak in and do that. That's exactly the sort of thing I was looking for. We've just about reached the authority cap at the moment, so our empire's about as big as it can be right now. That just means that in the future we'll probably be destroying more enemy settlements rather than keeping them, or trying to vassalize territory, since that doesn't count towards your cap and still kind of looks like you control the area and feels good, man. My 2 horse units go in to attack Uchimon, that Tartar place that, well, I said it was their capital. I think it might just be a town with their faction leader in it, and that makes the big red star appear above it. It's not necessarily saying it is their capital right now. There's some system of different colours of stars to mean different things, and obviously I'm not paying attention. But if you were paying attention there, you would have seen we captured it instantly, even though they had actually recruited another unit. Our horse archers just trashed through their spears and took the place. Our battles with the Merkits continue. They've got all these random units wandering around in and around our allied territory, and I've got a few random units as well, and we keep engaging and keep losing actually against them. So that's a shame, but it doesn't ultimately matter. Now, the game glitches out. This was almost the end of the campaign. We got stuck in this state where I was simultaneously in the diplomacy screen and also trying to interact with a mission dialogue or something at the same time, and everything kind of broke. We managed to get past 1 stage at least. We got back into the campaign map, but there's still this overlay here and I can't click on anything. We were eventually saved by the fact I was able to lay down a save and then load it, which got through the problem. Never did see whatever it was that caused the glitch. If there was a dialogue popping up, it's gone now. Anyway, here we are in the aftermath of the destruction of the not Tartar capital. We just completely wiped them out. As I said, we just don't have the authority to have more people in our empire, so we'll just genocide everyone else. Our attack on the northernmost of the 3 Tartar settlements here is going to be delayed, just because they do have quite a lot of stuff there. I'm going to wait for my 2nd army to catch up. In the meantime, we've got 3 armies moving against the Merkits. 2 of them, with Temujin, are currently being held back by the enemy faction leader, fighting on his own. The other one's going off west towards Ulan-Ude, which is pretty much undefended right now, so I'm just going to go cheekily capture that. This is the main part of the fight, and their faction leader is still alive despite all of these defeats. We keep killing his unit and then like 2 guys survive, and technically the man himself is still alive, so the unit won't get deleted. Very annoying, but we'll keep trying. Now back to the Tartars. Our men are in position so that all 3 of these groups can attack the enemy settlement at once. They've got a full stack inside and more men waiting outside, but they are trash. So especially the guys outside, we can just kind of run through them and ignore them. There's also the middle of the 3 settlements, and while the army I have to attack it isn't very big right now, and I could just wait and attack it later, I'm going to attack it now for no reason. I was kind of gambling on the hope that it would just surrender if my horse archers went over and tried to attack it. Now here's the main fight then. The enemy's men outside the settlement are showered with arrows, and some of my cav walk through them, and instantly those units are routed, so that went particularly well. Attacking the settlement will be harder because this army is, I think, all horse archers, except maybe for the generals, so they're going to have a hard time getting through even levied spears, as we've seen before. At least they were mounted. At Ulan Uda, as I mentioned, we've got men over there. It's undefended, just need to make a breach, and then the settlement will fall. So let's see how our men do trying to get past these spearmen. Because we're mounted, we can kill like half the spear unit instantly, pop out a quick T-pose for dominance, and then see what happens. But yes, 3 guys left in a tribal levy spear unit is enough to stop even a melee cav unit, let alone a horse archer unit, as we have seen before in this campaign. So it's going to be down to numbers really. This other battle with my small group of horse archers is finally getting started. I'm not sure what the delay was. I think I waited, or the men waited, for a couple of the enemy units outside the settlement to rout without really fighting them. I don't see any bodies at least. And then finally they go in to make the attack. And it's going to be another case of trying to force our way through spearmen, or the last couple of spearmen in each group in particular. The big battle finally comes to an end. Half my units have routed away, but we do win. We broke through somewhere, so we've got the capture. And here things seem to go more smoothly. We get the capture as well. So with that, all of these Tartar settlements off near our border have been taken out. They do have plenty more down to the south, but the nearby ones are gone. We've taken like 5 or 6 settlements from them in this war, so they're probably feeling the heat. I probably should have just destroyed these 2 places, but I wanted to keep one of them just so I can take some of the population back to my territory. You can go over the settlement limit if you want. You just get penalties. I think it is you get minus 10% public order to your nobility for every point you are over the settlement limit. So then if you suddenly get a minus 50% due to a natural disaster or something, all your settlements will just rebel and you'll be taken down. So it's playing it more edgy to go over the settlement limit, nicer to try and stay near it. That Ulan Uda place I'm going to keep as well because it had a great sack value and it's a decent place. A walled settlement right up in the corner of our empire might be handy. I'm going to take the army that took it and swing them around to attack the other Merkit place from the north, because again, it's heavily defended and it also has a river in front of it between Temujin's group and where we need to attack, so that might help the enemy. We're going to be more patient then and really just spend time in this area trying to fight the enemy faction leader over and over again. It's still happening, the main force just advances against him. Normally, you can kill an officer in a group, they don't look any different, but if the officer's model dies, the rest of the group just disappears. But this faction leader has specced into luck, he will not die, maybe because he's max level, it is very generous to them and stops them from dying. So it's just him left in the unit. There's one guy who's run off into the woods, but the unit hasn't disbanded, we still have to fight them. I was even trying to surround him there with some extra horse archers from behind, but it didn't work. Sometimes you can start a battle with routing units to kill them. Not sure why it didn't happen there. I guess there are some hidden rules. Now we get news of a new faction being discovered, the Kirtans or something they were called. This is another Mongol-style faction that we're already at war with because they're actually vassalized to the Jin Chinese, who we are at war with because of the story mission. So we have got ourselves a new enemy down in the same rough area as the Tartars. Seeing this, I thought, well, we might as well attack them right now. We do have units in the field. I had actually disbanded some of them and sent men back, ready to end the war and try to peace out with the Tartars and go to just build some money. But then I thought, well, let's just go for it. Let's attack the Kirtans right now and try to knock them out of this war, because they don't look especially strong from what we can see so far. Skipping ahead a couple of turns to when contact is made, we've got a couple of battles to look at. In we go for an attack on the first of the Kirtan settlements, but we're also now in position to attack that Merkit settlement. We've got 3 armies coming in, one from the northwest, one from the east, and one across the river from the south. The battle is actually taking place to the north of the settlement, and that's quite bad because it means my tired reinforcement army, which already fought battles, is pretty much facing the enemy alone at first while the other groups get into position, and they don't do all that well. As for the battle with the Kirtans, by the way, we win eventually. We have enough men to just storm through the enemy's trash spears and stuff and take their settlement, so we will just focus on this one. Yes, the battle to the north is a mess until Temujin arrives with more units from the east to start clearing things up. The third army is coming all the way around the settlement and will basically arrive too late. It looks like the enemy have loads of numbers on the field, but the number at the top includes the men who are just sitting in the settlement not really fighting. So we do have more of an advantage than it looks like we do in this situation. We're going to defeat that field army quite soundly, but we will have to go on and definitely fight again to make any progress. The time limit runs out, a few units escape to the north, but now we do have the settlement surrounded with superior numbers, so we're just a few grinds away from potentially winning. The Kirtans come here with a peace deal. I'm going to reject it on the premise that they won't be my vassal, which is my usual rule. However, right after that, I had a change of heart, which I'll now explain. First, I killed everybody in that settlement I took from them. Then, I'm setting up my armies to go back to Allied territory so I can disband them. And I'm here in the diplomacy screen, going back into peace negotiation with the kittens. I've been saying curtains. These guys, the blue guys. I get a tiny bit of money off them and end the war. All I really wanted was peace. I'm not going to go for vassalage right now. Then I'm going to go to the Tartars and try to do the same thing. We don't really have a target with them. I had to give them some money, in fact, to end the war. But ending the war was all I cared about because I want some time to myself for a bit. I want to calm things down, disband my armies so that I can make a massive amount of money as quickly as possible. The reason that I need money is because I'm expecting to have to upgrade all of my settlements from towns to cities, which costs a lot of money but gives you a lot of developmental potential. And the reason I expected that is because of this. We have invented agriculture. So now I have this massive spatial empire that I can radically improve economically by farming it. This will massively explode my population. And as I said, it allows you to upgrade your settlements, which gives you more building slots, and you can just generally use the economy mechanics much more. So we slap on automate farming. This makes every settlement just build farms whenever they can, and now we wait. In the meantime, another battle takes place against the Merkits. I think the enemy are actually coming out of the settlement to attack me here, because some of their units have come outside and we're fighting with them. It's also a dismounted day for anyone following the pattern of when mounting and dismounting takes place. Not really sure why that is in this case. So yes, there's a bit of a fight. Then my men, who had orders to attack the city, kind of do, but you can see all the units in the city have already routed, so I'm not really sure what happened there. There was some kind of fight that went on, but we didn't get inside, whatever the result was. They come to me asking for peace, and after a lot of bribery, I was able to vassalize them, had to give them another settlement as well, but this is okay because vassalizing them and giving them a settlement isn't bad. That takes us back down towards the settlement cap, means we can end the war more quickly in line with my plan to get more money, and contributes their victory score to ours, and their population and conquest levels go into our score. I haven't mentioned that so far. You can win the game in a variety of fashions, and owning a certain percentage of the global population is one of the main ones, so having vassals contributes to that as if they were your own population, so it's very helpful. Now, I checked over my list of settlements and noticed that very few of them were actually building farms. Then I looked around and found I couldn't build them manually either, which was confusing. And as it turns out, you actually can't build farms on tiles that are grassland. They are distinct from fertile plains tiles, which look quite similar. That means actually barely any of our empire is suitable for farming, pretty much none of it, and this massive long-term plan to spend half the game inventing agriculture and then suddenly booming to prominence and outdoing the civilized factions is not going to happen. There are more options. You can go and invent irrigation, which will probably help us turn the grasslands into fertile plains, and maybe then we would explode to prominence economically. However, that's going to take so long, as you can see on these texts here. All the texts take ages to get. Long story short, that is probably not going to happen. that means my dream is over. So we'll just have to go back to some very long military expeditions to fight our now distant enemies, and a few enemies a bit closer to home, in the next part.